Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that will move your heart, a story of courage, experience, and the quiet power of wisdom earned through fire. It's not just about machines or war, it's about the unbreakable bond between generations of soldiers and the soul that lives inside every veteran who once served. It happened in a desolate airfield in the middle of nowhere, a forward operating base carved out of dust, sweat, and the hum of rotor blades. The sun was sinking low over the horizon, painting the desert in gold and blood red. The base was alive with tension, soldiers running, radios cracking with static, and mechanics working frantically under the dying light. A Black Hawk helicopter, one of the few vital lifelines in the area, had gone down during a training flight. The bird wasn't destroyed, it had landed rough, engine still intact but silent. The technicians had been working on it for hours, but the machine refused to breathe again. The situation wasn't just technical, it was personal. That helicopter was needed for a rescue mission at dawn. A squad of Marines was stranded miles away beyond hostile terrain, and the Black Hawk was their only way home. If it couldn't fly by sunrise, men would die. Inside the hangar, young technicians in grease-streaked uniforms moved around the helicopter like doctors around a dying patient. Hydraulics clear, one shouted. Fuel line secured, another replied. But the bird didn't care. It stayed silent. The commanding officer, General David Harlan, stood nearby with his arms crossed, jaw clenched. His gray hair and the deep lines on his face showed years of battle and command. He wasn't just a leader, he was a man who'd seen too much. A senior technician walked up, his face pale. "Sir, we've checked every system. It's like the main drive doesn't recognize the power input. It's dead." Harlan didn't speak for a moment. He just looked at the helicopter, his bird, his pride, sitting lifeless in the hangar. Then he said quietly, "Get me Sergeant Miller." There was silence for a moment. Then one of the younger men asked, "Sir, Miller? You mean Tom Miller, the old warbird?" Harlan nodded. "Sir, he retired, years ago. He's not even on base anymore." "I know," Harlan said. "Find him." The men exchanged glances but didn't argue. Orders were orders. 2 hours later, a rusted pickup truck rolled through the gates of the base. The headlights cut through the darkness, and out stepped an old man wearing a faded jacket with a patch that read 101st Airborne. Sergeant Tom Miller. He walked slowly, his left leg stiff from an old wound. His hands were rough, stained with the kind of scars that never fade. He looked around the base. The noise, the smell of fuel, the young faces, and for a moment, he seemed to travel back in time. General Harlan met him at the hangar entrance. For a second, neither said a word. Then Harlan smiled. "Good to see you again, Tom." Miller grinned faintly. "Didn't think you'd call me back, Dave. Thought you had all the young geniuses now." Harlan chuckled softly. "We do, but none of them can talk to a bird the way you used to." When Miller saw the Black Hawk, he didn't see a machine. He saw a living thing. Proud, wounded, silent. He placed a hand on the hull, eyes half closed, feeling it like a doctor feeling a pulse. "What happened?" he asked. "Engine failure on descent. We replaced every component, but it won't start. The diagnostics show power loss to the main ignition," one of the young technicians replied. Miller listened, then crouched down. He started inspecting quietly, tracing wires, tapping panels, running his hand across rivets and seams. His movements were slow but sure, every motion filled with memory. Finally, he looked at the team. "You checked the main drive relay 3 times. And the emergency override?" "Yeah." "Did you check the ground link on the ignition coupler?" The young tech blinked. "The what?" Miller gave a half smile. "Exactly." He grabbed a small wrench from the table, crawled under the fuselage, and started loosening a panel that hadn't been opened in years. The younger techs exchanged uncertain looks, but the general just watched silently. For 20 minutes, Miller worked in complete focus. He muttered under his breath, as if speaking to the machine itself. "Come on, girl, you've been through worse. Let's wake you up." He found the old ground wire, corroded, almost invisible under layers of dust. "There you are," he whispered. "Still holding on, huh?" He replaced it with a spare, tightened it carefully, and wiped his hands. Then he stood up, his back cracking audibly. "All right, he said, looking at the pilot. Give her power. The hangar filled with silence. The pilot hesitated, then flicked the switch. The lights on the console flickered once, twice, and then, the rotors twitched. A second later, the engine coughed to life, sputtering, then roaring. The Black Hawk came alive, blades slicing the air, echoing through the hangar like a heartbeat returning from the dead. Cheers erupted from the technicians. Some clapped, others just stood in awe. The old man smiled, eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the helicopter. General Harlan approached. How did you know? Miller looked at him. Back in 91, same bird model. We lost one just like this. Turned out, the ground wire corroded where no one thought to look. You can replace parts, but if you forget the small things, he paused. The small things always bring her down. The general nodded. We could have lost those boys tomorrow. Miller's eyes softened. Not on my watch. Then, after a moment of silence, he looked at the young crew. You all did good. You know your systems. But remember this, machines aren't just steel and circuits. They remember who built them, who flew them, who fixed them. Treat them with respect, and they'll talk to you. The young technicians nodded, some visibly emotional. They'd just witnessed something no manual could ever teach, the art of experience. Later that night, as the base quieted down, Miller stood outside the hangar, watching the helicopter take off for the rescue mission. The rotors cut through the darkness, disappearing into the stars. General Harlan joined him. You still have it, Tom. Miller chuckled softly. I never lost it. Just didn't think anyone needed it anymore. Harlan put a hand on his shoulder. The world always needs men like you. The two stood there in silence, the glow of the departing Black Hawk fading in the distance. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Two old soldiers, one mission, one memory. When the rescue chopper returned just before dawn, carrying the rescued Marines, everyone on base lined up to greet them. The young soldiers stumbled out, exhausted but alive. One of them walked up to Miller and saluted. Sir, they told us you got her flying. Thank you. Miller shook his head. Don't thank me, son. Thank the bird. She just needed someone to listen. As the first rays of sun broke across the desert, Miller looked toward the horizon. His eyes were tired but proud. He turned to the general. Well, I guess my job's done. Harlan smiled. Stay for breakfast. Miller smirked. Only if it's real coffee. Not that instant stuff you officers drink. They both laughed, the kind of laughter that only old warriors share, full of pain, humor, and history. That morning, the base held a quiet ceremony. Not official, not planned, just a group of soldiers who wanted to say thank you. They painted the words, Old Tom's Bird, on the helicopter's side, right under the unit insignia. Miller didn't say much. He just smiled, touched the paint, and whispered something no one could hear. Then he got back in his truck, started the engine, and drove toward the rising sun. The wind blew through the open window, carrying the faint echo of rotor blades in the distance. For him, it wasn't about glory or medals. It was about being needed again, about the simple truth that no matter how old you are, experience never dies. It lives on, in every machine you touched, every soldier you taught, every life you helped save. So, if you're watching this, remember, behind every victory, every working machine, every successful mission, there's often someone forgotten. Someone who once gave everything, and still stands ready to help when called. The veterans, the quiet heroes, may fade from the spotlight, but they never truly disappear. They're the heartbeat behind the nation's strength, the living memory of every sacrifice ever made.